Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode in the series in which we discover more and more of Diana Ross and my crazy love for her. And today I just thought it would be fun for me to show you some of the gowns that I've created, completely inspired, ripped off, you may say, by Diana Ross's style. And so today I wanted to start with this one, which is, is it gonna remind you of anything if I tell you that it's reflections of the way life used to be? So this is a gown that I designed to perform. As you know, I perform on stage. In America, you say drag. Here in France, we say transformiste, which is more meaning female impersonator, which is what I do because I impersonate different characters. But I make a lot of my gowns and they're always inspired by Diana Ross, whether I be doing Diana Ross on stage or somebody else or just my character, which is Golda. Now this one is made out of a sequin called paillettes suisse because it came from Switzerland, and it's just a kind of a paillette which is sewn very, very tight on a stretchy fabric, and it's so tight that when you pull it, the sequins are sewn so tight together that you can still see only sequins and no fabric. And then the top is completely beaded by hand. This is more of another gown that Diana Ross wore, but with the Supremes. And then I have these little paillettes which have a hole at the top, and those are really hard to find, believe it or not. And so I was able to sew them, all along, going up. And the last time I wore this dress, I put on the dress very quickly and I tore into one of the threads, and so a whole line came off. But that's because that was very bad of me, because normally you should sew one and then make a little knot on the inside so that if you do lose one, you only lose one. Here it was a whole line, and it's the only thing I can see when I was on stage. So let's talk and more sequins. Let's go on to another dress. Now, if you recognize this gown, you're a real Diana Ross fan, because it actually is a gown that Diana Ross wore in a Vogue layout in 1996, I think. The Vogue, American Vogue, the theme was music, and Naomi Campbell was on the front cover in a beautiful green sequined pantsuit. But there was a huge 6-page on Diana Ross, and she was wearing only haute couture and diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. And she was wearing a leopard print gown. And it's, I think, one of the only times I'd seen her in leopard. Diana Ross wears very little print, like most stars. But, the Leopard, never. And she looked absolutely stunning. It was a black and white photo. She was doing this, and I just loved it. The dress was in chiffon, but I do not wear chiffon because chiffon does not travel well. And you should see the state of my suitcases when they arrive wherever we're performing. And for some reason, my suitcase is always at the bottom. So like all the good, all the other ones, they're on top, and I'm at the bottom. So the most squished one is me. But so anyway, this is a fabric which I absolutely loved. It's a stretch gold fabric with the cheetah print, and it was a really, really, really expensive fabric. But the owner of the company where I buy my stuff, his name is Lionel, and he's really, really sweet. And there were only 1.60 meters left. So to tell you, I'm 5'6", and so that would be 1.65 meters. So it was like just the minimum amount, and I cannot stand a dress if it doesn't fall to the floor. So what happened is when he gave me the fabric for a cheap price because that's all that was left. And I just took it and said, I'll see what I can make with it. But the end of the fabric, the sides, had no print. You know, the print was stopped and it was all just plain gold. But I was able to retrieve it from the sides, and so to use it on top, and that way it lengthened the gown for me. And it has a slit, and because I had, you know, very short but a lot of fabric, it's 1.50 on one side and 1.60 on the other, so I was able to use it for the inside, for the lining, which is really glamorous, because when you show your leg, the inside of the dress is also lined. So very loosely inspired, but nevertheless always inspired by Miss Diana Ross. I hope I can find you a picture of that Vogue shooting, because it was really fabulous. And then of course I had to add sequins, and you know, but that's like a sickness. You know, when I have nothing to do, when I'm bored, I just take out that gun and sequin. But here they fit. They're at the appropriate place. Sometimes I put them on a gown and it just looks like, you know, it looks like there was a hole and I tried to patch it up. So you have to be careful with that. But here it was really kind of necessary, and they have a bit of silver and gold in them. There's a bit of brown and black. So it worked, and I didn't go too wild. And I really love wearing this dress. And you see this one, you can wear it, you can pack it in a suitcase, and it comes out and there's not a single crease, but that's because of the quality of the fabric. Okay, let's see if you recognize this dress, all you Diana Ross buffs out here. Let me just give you a little hint. I think she wears it at the time of the concert, where she says, I had a lot of other artists that had gone on before me, all of them writing, painting, acting, singing, dancing, reaching for the stars, saying, I am and I am going to be. It's I always say, if there was one gown I could have, I wouldn't really want to have a Diana Ross gown. It would be too precious. But just to look at, really, it would be one of those two gowns. So it's on an evening with Diana Ross. She has this gown, or the style of gown, in red and in white. And if you remember on the album cover, it's on the inside. It's the teeniest pictures. I mean, really tiny pictures. And one of them where she's just looking like this, and then another one where she's looking to the side. And I could stare at those pictures for hours and hours and hours. I even looked at them with a magnifying glass. And when I found this fabric, which is very similar because it's just stripes and irregular, except they're not multicolor. It's either all red on a red mesh or white on a white mesh. And hers, of course, have the sequins, but they have all the beading, which we call the rain beads. It's little sticks of glass that are sewn side by side, and which make the dress so shiny. But what really, really impressed me in that gown is the way they use the fabric in a chevron shape by doing the points. And I remember when I got the fabric, to make sure I was going to be able to use, you know, the whole amount, I was putting my pattern in every single way possible, and so that I could finally get the little, you know, the chevron, you know, going down. But I really love this gown, and so this is a pattern which I got as well as the pattern for her big tulle coat, her signature coat, from somebody who worked on some of her clothes. So they never gave me the actual pattern, but they gave me a couple of hints. And since I, you know, as some of you may or may not know, I worked as a designer for 20 years and I went to school. So I immediately got, you know, the trick. So it's pretty easy to make. And also that's when you realize when something is made very simply, it's because it's thought of very, very thoroughly, and that's what makes the most beautiful beautiful clothes. And it's also very, very comfortable to wear and super easy to put on. Because, now that's one of my tricks, in order to be able to change really, really quickly, one thing that I try to avoid at any rate is zippers and buttons and snaps, because zippers break and buttons don't button and snaps don't snap. So this one is made, and so I tie them in the back so that they're tapered on the mannequin, but it's made, you see, it's only one piece, and you go through it from the back, and you just hold it like this, actually on the hanger. This is how it stands, and all you have to do is put on the skirt part, and which is here, is zipped, of course, and then just put on the top like you're wearing a sweatshirt, and then all this is just flowing in the back, but you never see the back, so you can hide other costumes under if you want, and it always looks good, and it catches the light. It's a fun gown. Now, if any of you remember this gown, you are my friends. This is very particular because I went to see Diana Ross in concert in 1997, and she appeared on stage in a patent leather gown and her hair up, and everybody went crazy. And she started by singing Chain Reaction, and it was just so spectacular. Absolutely, she was absolutely phenomenal. And then she tore off this part of the dress, which was more like a skirt, and she ended in a patent leather bathing suit, and she ran off the stage. It was just absolutely stunning, and I absolutely adored. So when I got this fabric, it's the first thing I thought about. Now I added the cape because there's another time I saw Diana Ross, more something like 95, 96. She came to Paris, and she did a fabulous show, and I was front row. I found seats in the front row, and she arrived from the back of the stage in her gold cape, you know, the very famous one that you've seen her wear quite a bit, and she passed right by me. I saw her, the tips of her fingernails holding the cape. She passed right by me, and it was, this feeling was just so incredible. So although I made the gold cape, I wanted to make a cape for this dress as well. I never wore it on stage as, you know, performing as Diana Ross, because when you do an impersonation of Diana Ross, people want to recognize the gowns. And this one is a rare piece. I mean, I think she's worn it only during that tour, and then that was it. It was finished. So I don't know. I just love it. It's a lot of fun to wear, but it is hot. Believe me, it's like when you get out of this, you lose a couple of pounds. So one of my other passions, apart from designing gowns, is thrifting them and finding them in thrift stores. There was a time when you could find quite a bit of beaded stuff in thrift stores, and now it's been a couple of years, they've really completely disappeared. You just can't find them. And this gown, which is a very pale powder blue gown, but it's so well made because all of the straps are beaded with tiny little flowers. All the sequins are in a zigzag, which is called cracked ice, I found out, thanks to one of you. And so it just very, very simple gown like Diana Ross would wear. But it had a problem. It was a little bit short. So I added an extra piece of fur, and then all of a sudden it became my length, because I really don't like short dresses. And then I was very, very fortunate to get gifted by one of my very talented designer friends. Her name is Leanne Wallace, this beautiful silk coat, it's silk, and it's cut silk, torn silk. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's very, very similar in color, this very pale dusty blue. And so I added the fur all around, the chinchilla, because, you know, Diana Ross wore chinchilla, if you saw my last episode, and you know, going on with the bottom of the dress, matching with the bottom. And so all of a sudden, this became my chain reaction gown, you know, one of my favorite gowns in the world, with the coat when Diana Ross arrives in Chain Reaction. It's such a showstopper, and I really love to wear it. This is really fun, and another hot number. You can only wear this in the winter, but I did work for a couple of years in a place that had an outside bar, you know, outside place that was heated, but it was still very, very cold. And when it rained, the floors got wet, and people were outside drinking and smoking in the middle of winter, and they stayed there for the whole night. But I could, sometimes I was absolutely frozen. So this coat came in handy whenever I wore it, which is only once, because I never wear the same gowns twice. So listen, there's going to be a part 2, because I have so many other gowns to show you. So I hope you you like this little trip down memory lane with my connection to Diana Ross, and all of the inspiration that Diana Ross has given me throughout the years. And I guess that's why I could never really be a good designer, because I could only design for one person, which is Miss Diana Ross. So I'll see you in a couple of days to show you more gowns that were inspired by Diana Ross, and one piece which I truly had no idea until I saw some archives, and then I went, I must really be obsessed with Diana Ross. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.